If you are struggling with a nutrition plan or have no idea how to slay your personal food dragon, I have a solution for your consideration. Let's go. Good day to each and every one of you bright, shining souls, wherever you may be, and welcome to bFIT Radio. We're talking about strength, meaning, and the human experience here on this bFIT bonus. I am your host, Scott Schroeder, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach with specialties in corrective exercise and performance enhancement. And this voice you hear each and every week is mine and will never be AI generated because authenticity is imperative to life. bFIT Radio and bFIT bonus is where fitness meets psychology, philosophy, and real life, because true wellness is about more than just the body. It's about balance. If your current fitness plan looks something like watch a bunch of YouTube videos, try random workouts, get confused, and then go eat a sandwich, I might be able to help. The bFIT Blueprint is a 3-session virtual coaching program where we build a training plan designed specifically for you, your goals, your schedule, and your real life. We start with an assessment. I build your custom program. We walk through it together, and then we check in and adjust once you've had time to implement it. It's not a generic workout. It's coaching with intention. If you want a clear plan and a smarter way to train, check out the bFIT Blueprint at balancefitsc.com. Your life, your potential. Now today, we're going to. This is sort of a hybrid bFIT Radio bFIT bonus episode. But that's why the intro sounded a little bit different. But today, we're going to talk about how to build a healthy and functional nutrition plan minus the hassle of excruciating daily planning. Please listen very carefully to the following. I am stating without equivocation, without prevarication, without pretense, that what I'm about to offer you is an option, not a panacea. You may find it useful and helpful, or it may not be for you. I am not declaring my way or the highway. I'm simply offering a solution, not the solution, to a problem. All right, let's get into it. Over the last 25 years, has there been a subject more ponderously present than food? Humans have always had a deep connection with food, which makes sense because we kind of need it to exist. But the last couple of decades or so, the cultural presence of food has been turned up to 11. If you're old enough, you remember the emergence of Food Network. It began in the early 90s. It gained momentum with Emerald Live and Good Eats in the late 90s and exploded as a cultural phenomenon with the likes of Rachel Ray, Paula Deen, and the next Food Network star. This utterly genius marketing strategy turned a utilitarian function into a new global zeitgeist. Everyone in the galaxy was madly pursuing elevated food art. We were all salt, fat, sugar, and plate presentation all the time. We weren't just feeding our families anymore. We were seeking social validation through expensive cookware and flavor palettes. Eating ceased being about fueling the body and became a sporting event with sponsors. And I wonder how much debt was amassed by overspending on designer cookware and bespoke kitchens. Then about 10 or 12 years ago, the fitness and wellness industrial complex instilled in the more fitness-minded the obsession with macros, micros, calories, food timing, intermittent fasting, paleo, keto, vertical, vegan, veggie, raw, and a whole utterly confusing array of must-do-or-die regimented eating plans without much concern for factors like genetics, lifestyle, and practicality. I wonder how many people do you know who were terrified into a diet that ended up making them sicker or weaker? So, what do I always evangelize here? Balance. Like everything else in life, when you see two polar opposites fighting for control and market share, you can very nearly be guaranteed that the place you seek is somewhere in the middle. Also, like nearly everything in life, there is nuance. There's validity to be found on both poles. Proper preparation and flavor is important for food. Otherwise, we're not eating it because there are thousands of options. But, on the other hand, we need to be mindful and keep account of what we're putting into our one and only body machine. What we don't need to do is find ourselves walled in by a prison of obsession over either one of these. Very few meals need to be an event, nor do you need to spend your life doing advanced food calculus. One solution to this kerfuffle is to simplify the entire process. But this is not an easy road down which to start walking. The culture is so psychologically and chemically addicted to consumption that any deviation seems like death, and quite honestly, it ain't far from that. In order to simplify your nutrition to something valuable and dispassionate, you are going to have to allow ingrained habits, those parts of you that control your actions, to die. You're going to have to redirect your entire mindset about food. Well, let's actually say about 90% of your mindset, because really I don't want to live in a world without cookies and ice cream. But we need to let go of three main things: food choice overload, defaulting to hyper-consumable, ultra-processed foods, and using food to identify and validate ourselves. And speaking of identification through food, here's a tangent. I'm a Southern boy, and down south, we seem to take great pride in linking our entire sense of self with casserole dishes full of astonishing concoctions that seem specifically designed to end human life. We take a ridiculous, inordinate amount of pride in force-feeding people bacon grease and mayonnaise-based dishes we call salad. It's funny, because at family reunions, church socials, and Sunday suppers, somebody is inevitably going to say grace that includes the words, "Bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies." And then when you look at the table, you say, well, that would be a Jesus-like miracle. The prayer should say, "Lord, please forgive me for feeding this shit to my family on purpose." A fellow native Southerners, let me have a word, please. I'm walking through my hometown Sam's the other day in the upstate of South Carolina, and it looked like the living dead had invaded. And outside the staggering percentage of catastrophically obese customers, the number of middle-aged people riding those little motor scooters around was jaw-dropping. Why is this a thing? Because people who should otherwise be reasonably healthy are obese and in pain. Why? Because the list of the worst foods for obesity, cancer, heart disease, stroke, and inflammation, and that'd be fried foods, white bread, industrial baked goods, processed meat, hydrogenated oils, and added salt and sugar, well, those are the basic food groups in the South. When your food pyramid is sweet tea, bread, Vienna sausages, and fried everything, how exactly do you think that's going to end? This form of eating is a death cult, not a culture. Stop eating like your pantry is a dumpster at a mall food court. Anyway, let me get the boat back on course here. If you are seeking a solution to overweight, obesity, bad food choices, and all the catastrophic effects of those things, but the whole nutrition plan thing seems overwhelming, I have some ideas worth your consideration. The following isn't easy psychologically, and quite frankly, it's not for everyone. But I believe in the sharing of ideas so that the most information is available to the most people. It's up to you to make your own choices. In order to make this work, you're going to have to walk away from old habits and mindsets, and you have to snuff out your personal relationship with food as something that is closely associated with your identity as a human. You are so much more than that. Stop tying yourself to it. The desperate need for people to call you the grill master or the cookie queen or a foodie is called role identity, and it's not who you are. Remove validation from the act of feeding yourself or other people. Food is a tool that builds and repairs your body. It's not a means of substantiation. You wouldn't use a screwdriver or pliers to dig a hole. I mean, technically you could, but why? They aren't meant for that, and food isn't there to give value to your existence. Once you've arrived in this new headspace, here's what you're going to do. You are going to build a meal plan for one day that is comprised of as many whole foods as possible, contains your necessary macronutrients for weight management and performance, and micronutrients for critical bodily functions. It accounts for any genetic conditions and markers and fits your lifestyle. Now that sounds like a lot of work, right? Well, it is at the beginning. You're going to figure out your daily calorie intake needs based on fat loss or maintenance or performance, whatever you're doing. You're going to determine how many meals you need to eat each day to make sure you're fueled, nourished, and not starving yourself. And you're going to get a food scale and weigh every damn thing you put into your body. And you're going to do this meal plan every single day. And I can hear you. You're yelling, I can't do all that every day. Who has the time and energy for that? If you follow this plan, you'll have a lot more time and energy than you do right now, because once you get rolling, you take decision fatigue off the table. You get really efficient at meal prep because you do it over and over again. You take bad choices out of the loop. You take worry off the table because you know what you're putting into your body. And you feel and perform better because you're fueling yourself properly. And lest you think that this is crazy, this is the kind of thing high performers have been doing for a very long time. Taking meaningless, time-sucking decisions and actions out of the loop. Steve Jobs could afford all the clothes on earth and a battalion of personal shoppers, outfit consultants, and butlers to dress him. But he wore the same black sweater, jeans, and sneakers every single day because he decided that what he wore was so trivial to his life that it didn't warrant the time or bandwidth required to deal with it. So he presented himself in a functional and simplified manner. Now, food isn't trivial to your existence, but the overwhelming volume of available options you give yourself should be. You've been conditioned by marketing to believe that the only way you can experience true freedom as a consumer is to have infinite choices, when the truth is that unlimited options leads to decision paralysis. Ever blow the entire night watching trailers because you couldn't decide what to watch from the 20,000 options? How about standing in the candy aisle at the convenience store? I swear, there is a Mephistophelian hellscape if ever one existed. Would you die of neglect if your only choices were Hershey, Snickers, Reese's, or Starburst? Honestly. Let's just take Reese's peanut butter cups, for example. I know it's peculiar to be talking about candy in a nutrition episode, but I'm not an ideological purist, and treats are good for the soul. Anyway, the Reese's peanut butter cup is perhaps the most perfect confection ever made. It's simple, balanced, and delicious, salty and sweet, unpretentious, and eminently satisfying. It is consistently ranked as the #1 candy in America by sales and popularity. Why mess with it? Because they can sell you more crap under the guise of variety. The ridiculous thing is that I did an AI search for how many varieties of Reese's peanut butter cups there are. Just Reese's peanut butter cups, not the whole Reese's line. The actual answer I was given is that no one knows. It said there are dozens. Does that seem reasonable? Hey, real quick before we continue, if your current training plan is basically random workouts and good intentions, the bFIT Blueprint might help. It's a 3-session virtual coaching program where we build a clear, personalized training plan for you. bFITSC.com. All right, let's get back to it. Anyway, back to the point of the show, which is your meal plan. So, what does this look like? I'll give you what my day looks like. Now, this is built around my body and my needs. Yours will likely be different, but this plan is 100% scalable to anyone. Holler at me if you need a custom plan designed. I'm easy to find. All right. Now, I want you to remember what I said about weighing and measuring everything. You cannot control your calories and nutrients if you don't know what's going into your pie hole. Everything gets weighed. First thing in the morning, before you do anything, 24 ounces of water. If you need an electrolyte additive because you're super sweaty or you live in the jungle, whatever, you're losing lots of fluid, that's fine, but be careful with that. So 24 ounces of water, no exceptions. Coffee comes later. If you start your day with anything besides water, you're already putting your system under stress. So let's get to meal one. We are going 170 grams of fat-free Greek yogurt. Real Greek yogurt, people, not that sugar-laced flavored BS you pretend is good for you. You know the added sugar in that stuff kills the bacteria that creates the probiotics. Stop eating that shit and stop feeding it to your kids. God dang. Anyway, I go fat-free because I'm getting my daily healthy fats elsewhere. This is an extremely healthy, low-calorie, high-protein food. Then we're going 75 grams of blueberries. I use IQF. That means individually quick frozen. There is nothing wrong with eating frozen fruit or frozen vegetables, okay? There's not a nutrient loss or any of those other myths you've heard. They're cheaper, and they last longer, and you can buy them in larger quantities. So 75 grams frozen blueberries. Let them thaw out. They kind of melt, and the cellular disruption in the freezing and the melting process creates some blueberry juice in there, which is kind of nice. But blueberries, if you're a psychopath like my wife and you hate blueberries, I suggest blackberries and or dark cherries. There's other good options like black currants and pomegranate, but we're trying to make this easy to source. Blueberries give you antioxidants, all kinds of vitamins, fiber, healthy carbs, and a low glycemic index if blood sugar is an issue for you. Next, and actually I start the bowl with this, but just trying to use some kind of coherent order. 12 grams of chia seeds soaked in skim milk or water, depending on what you want to do with that. Here we have all 3 micros, good fiber, omega-3s, and lots of vitamins and minerals. By the way, for time's sake, I'm not deep diving the entire nutrient profile of this entire day. I'm hitting the highlights. Now, you need to pre-soak your chia seeds to maximize nutrient release and to keep them from sucking all the fluid out of your digestive tract, because one chia seed soaks up about 27 times its own volume in liquid. I use 50 grams of skim milk for a little extra protein and nutrient value, but you can use water too. Next is 7 grams of flaxseed. Now that's ground flaxseed, not whole. If you eat whole flax seeds, they're just going to shoot right through you like a bullet and not do anything for you. The chia and flax have pretty similar nutrition profiles, but chia excels at bone and digestive support, and flax excels at cardiovascular health. They overlap on a lot of stuff, but they kind of shine in those 2 areas. Sidebar, absorption of some nutrients are inhibited by certain foods. For example, if you have an iron deficiency like me, you need to boost or supplement your iron intake, and you need to do it in a window of your day when you're not eating dairy or drinking coffee or tea. Please do your research on this. This is going to be just little things like this. Remember, this is not the rock solid cure all. This is just a group of ideas that I think is going to help you. All right. So anyway, and I top this off with 30 grams of my homemade granola. Hit me up for the recipe if you want it. It's all organic, and it's made of oats, pecans, egg whites, coconut oil, maple syrup, honey, vanilla, and kosher salt. That's it. All right. Meal 2. Very simple. 240 grams, that's 1 cup, of skim milk. 240 grams, that's 1 cup, of water. 32 grams of whey protein isolate. That's it. Meal 3, this is a snack meal. It is, for me, 1 peanut butter chocolate RX bar. Yes, I know this is a processed, non-whole food, but I told you I'm not a purist. Sometimes you got to eat on the run or bridge a meal gap, and this product has a reasonable macro profile, no added sugar, and is made of actual food like dates, eggs, and peanuts. If you're allergic, figure it out. Figure out your substitute. They got lots of different flavors. Meal 4, this one I had to kind of jam into the plan because as I was designing this, I realized I wasn't getting enough vegetables. So it's a veggie bowl. We'll call it a bowl, whatever you want to do with this. 150 grams of broccoli, 120 grams of cucumber, 80 grams of carrots, and 30 grams of hummus. That's optional, but it's a nice addition to it. And on the side, 113 grams, that's half a cup of 2% cottage cheese. Not much explanation needed here. Good food that's low-cal, high-value, and filling. Meal 5, here's the big meal, or what I call my dinner. And by the way, you can sort of move these around throughout your day. I know everybody's schedules are different, but as long as we're adhering to the backbone of this plan, you're good. So the big meal, it's 85 grams of lean and drained ground beef. Now, you can substitute ground chicken or ground turkey. Now, let's talk about the ground thing. It's easier to digest, gets into your system faster. But outside of that, if you just eat chicken breast or steak or turkey breast, it's fine. In fact, your body's actually going to work harder to digest it, so you'll burn slightly more calories if you eat non-ground meat. But simplicity's sake, I can buy it easily packaged, and I can cook it easily, and I can store what I'm not cooking easily as well. So 85 grams lean and drained ground beef, 65 grams of sweet potato, again with IQF, individually quick frozen. Use frozen sweet potatoes. Get bags of them. You can keep them forever, okay? You know what I mean by forever. They'll keep a long time in your freezer. God, some people are so pedantic. 138 grams, that's 3 egg whites. 1 whole egg, 60 grams of raw spinach, 60 grams of bell pepper, and 1/4 of a medium Hass avocado. 10 grams of extra virgin olive oil, and 1 slice of lightly toasted whole grain bread. Be careful how much you toast bread. The more of that caramelization, the darker it gets on there, the more you are bringing oxidative properties into the process, and we don't want to promote cancer. I season all this. I do not season my meat when I cook it. I don't care. I'm not trying to build a palate pleaser here. I'm not trying to serve this to anybody. I'm trying to get nutrients into my body. But I season it afterward with black pepper, 3 grams of kosher salt, and crushed red pepper. Now, let me pause on kosher salt. Table salt is iodized. Iodine is good for the thyroid. So if you have thyroid issues, then forget about the kosher salt and just use iodized table salt. Okay? Again, there's a million variants that can happen there. This is a big meal made of whole foods that's loaded with good fuel and wellness. I just mix it up in a huge bowl and go at it. I don't care about plate presentation, all that stupid crap. But believe it or not, there's still dessert coming. I kind of do a repeat of my first meal, my breakfast meal. I just make a couple of substitutions to make it more dessert-like. 100 grams of Greek yogurt, 60 grams of blueberries. That kind of makes it almost like a frozen dessert. And I don't thaw them. I leave them frozen. So that kind of gives it like a frozen dessert kind of a feel. 30 grams of my granola that I told you about. And my one crappy ingredient of the day, a tablespoon of Nutella or peanut butter, depending on my mood. So there it is. That's my day in food basically every day of the year. Now, of course, there's travel and schedule anomalies to consider. But if you make a plan like this, and if you make it your go-to so that this is what you're consuming something like 300 days out of the year, then things like vacation and travel meals aren't going to matter as much. The nutrition summary, I bet you've been waiting for that. The nutrition summary of this daily meal plan, my daily meal plan, hovers right at 2,100 calories, 158 grams of protein, 200 grams of carbs, and 75 grams of fat, with a balanced vitamin and mineral profile that I supplement with a multivitamin. One little tiny gap in here as I've gone back through it is vitamin D. But if you need more vitamin D, go outside. Stand in the sun, okay? These meals are almost all whole foods with almost no added sugar or bad fats. This is fuel and medicine. The satiety factor is high, and the nutrient profile is such that I'm rarely hungry except at mealtime, and I'm properly fueled for my day. Of course, you need to be washing all this down with water, at least 64 ounces throughout your day, preferably 80 or more, not soda, not tea, not juice, water. By the way, you talk about genius marketing and just the absolute explosion of obesity and chronic disease. I'd love to go back and pinpoint the moment in time when drinking a soda, a cola, a pop, wherever you're from, with a meal became normal. That's insane. Like we package meals with sugar water. We package ultra-processed, high-fat, hyper-consumable garbage meals with sugar water. It's astonishing. Anyway, water. Because of the mineral content of the plan, you shouldn't need to supplement with electrolytes unless you're just absolutely getting after it and sweating a lot. If you do use an electrolyte product, take it easy. Toxicity is a real thing if you overconsume certain vitamins and minerals. And keep in mind what I said about scalability. This is simply a blueprint to get you going. Your size, weight, gender, health, genetics, and workload are all going to come into play. This is built for an active person of my size who wants to stay lean while maintaining or building muscle mass and prioritizes satiety and nutrients. If you need more calories, carbs, or protein, you can simply boost some of the ingredients like spinach or sweet potatoes, egg whites, yogurt, fruit, or milk. Just play with it and figure it out. Make this a sustainable plan for your own life. The point is to simplify the process of getting proper nutrition into your body and consume whole, nutrient-dense foods that are filling and provide the fuel for you to become a more capable human able to enjoy life. The protein distribution, fiber, healthy fats, micronutrients, glycemic profile, and satiety are the backbone of this plan. The biggest strength is behavioral simplicity. We eliminate daily food decision stress, impulse eating, convenience traps, and inconsistent fuel intake. This is how successful, capable, and well people eat. Not because it's glamorous, but because it works. All right, thanks for spending time with me today here on bFIT Radio and your little bFIT bonus episode. If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it. And let me leave you with this thought that I want to reiterate from the last episode. You are not your own. You do not live in a vacuum. Treat your body like a temple in service to others, not like a rusty shed where you store the unneeded crap in your life. Until next time, be mindful, be fit, be capable and resolute, and move through life with a sense of purpose. And remember, your life, your potential. Peace out, homies, and I'll see you all next time.